Okay, as far as the bearing, I like to pack these. Either put the grease in the palm of your hand and keep pushing the bearing down through it until you see the little dots coming up around the needles or the little bearings. Make sure you get it full, or they got the little plastic things you put them in and just push down if you want to do it that way. Anything, I pack these before I put them on, and then it always goes with the taper up. Now see, this is that one that's got the sealing washer that's metal. Someone's already put in there, so it's going to stay there. I don't know where you can get the sealing washers or the metal cups. Jeremy on Sears Suburban Tractor Facebook thing said about a Dorman soft plug that you can get and drill a hole in the center, which it does look a lot like it, and I'll put the part number in the description or on the screen or wherever I can get it. Now see, this will go fairly easy, but you're going to have to do some tapping, and you got a couple options here. A piece of 3/4 pipe, or you can take a washer that'll just fit over it, because you want to hit on this inside. You don't want to hit out here on the cage or on them needles. You want to hit on that center piece, the last piece that we had to cut off. A washer will do that for you. Okay, and then a piece of pipe, or if you didn't have a small enough piece of pipe and you had a washer, okay, 3/4 pipe. Man, I got dirt. 3/4 pipe will just fit on the two outside ones. You can just use that. I just put that cap on so when I hit on it, but you can tap that right down on there. We'll do that once I get it packed. I just don't want to get my hands greasy and then have to do the camera. How do we get them races in there? Okay, there's a couple ways you can do that. You can take one of your old races and you can grind it off the outside edge to where it'll fit in and out of here without getting stuck. And then you always put the thick part down. That way, if you got to come up from underneath and tap it back up, you can. But if you make it loose enough, it won't have that problem. Okay, so that's one way to do it. So what you do, you put your new race in. See, I gotta have another race here somewhere. Here. So say that's your new race you're putting in, and then with the fast side down, you'd put this over top of it. Then you can pound on this race. Like I say, you want to grind this off so it comes out easy again. Okay, or you can take the race and put in there. Remember, the fat side down. Take your race bearing installer, seal installer, whatever you want to call it. Watch me mess this up a little one-handed. Now, when you I put the one in, I'm putting this one in. You put these in, hit them down, then they'll change sound. They'll get like a different sound when they're bottomed out. Here how it's more of a bell sound or solid sound. So that's really all there is to putting them in. Like I say, you can grind the outside of another race if you want to, and use another race to put them in. Here's what I was talking about. You want to be able to see the grease come up inside that cage when you pack a bearing. Okay. 1-inch piece of pipe is a wee little big. And I got that washer, and my pipe's a little jaggedy cut, so you should be able to make sure you got the tapered part up closer to top, smaller. And then see, I'm not all the way down yet. I'm close it. I believe that's all the way down. Now you could take the pipe itself and hit it. You just don't want to hit, you don't want something too big and hit the cage. Sounds like it's solid, like it changed tone again, so just like the race. So okay, that one will be okay. So now we got that on. That's the hardest parts are over with. What do I do with that middle? There it is. So that's going to come right in from the bottom. I could put a little bit of grease in there, but we'll get grease once we get this thing together. We'll pack it full of grease anyway, so that's not too much worried about that. All we're doing is getting grease on our hands for the camera. So once you get that on, we need another bearing. So let me get that, because we're going to grease it. So let me get that. I'm going to put it in this little thingy bob, just like that. Put this little thing on it, push it down, work it around. Okay, this one being just a little stubborn, it should almost slide on there. Okay, so there we are. We're up to that point. Okay, this is a good time to put your woodruff key back in that you cleaned up. This is actually what did I measure that? It's 1/4 inch thick, 1 3/4. 1 3/4 by 1. So that's going to go in there, and then we're going to get this pulley that we got all cleaned up. We're going to put that right on there. Okay, now the next thing I do is I put this nut on. Not as tight as it'll go. You kind of do it like the old wheel bearings on the front of the car. I'm going to tighten this down until it just snugs everything up. And I'm going to try to roll this until it's free. I'll try to show you here in a minute. Let me get closer to being there and then I'll show you. I got to take a, it's a lock nut, so you got to kind of run it down with the ratchet or something. Okay, so right here is snug. And then I like to take it and turn. See, it's pretty stiff right now. See, it turns, but it's snug. So now I'm just like the old wheel bearings. I don't back it off. And that'll loosen that right up to free. But what I'll do is I'll snug it back up to where everything would get dragged. Just right back to snug. You don't want no play in ways. You know, slop in between them tapered bearings, but you don't want them too tight that it makes rolling resistance. Just like the old wheel bearings, just where it's barely got drag. That might even be just a bit snug, but tighten down to where you want it. You put your set screws back in and tighten them up. Now there may, in some manual, someone may know or something, there may be a setting to where you put that at that just turns with so many inch-pounds or whatever, but I don't know. I'm going to loosen it just a touch. The other thing is, if you loosen this, I loosen it a little farther. I always like to end with a tightening motion. So there you go. Put our 3 Allen screws back in and we're good to go. Pump it full of grease. Hey, you know what I did while you guys weren't watching there? I took this pulley back off and I never seized it inside, so next time it'll come off easy. Okay. That's so-called sealing washers down in there. We need our pipe. And just doesn't take a whole lot to get it down in there. There it went. That in there. We need to put these races in. Should have done that first. Try to go as straight as you can. Okay. So I got that top bearing pushed down in there and the bottom went in. This is the one that's got that hole. So this is just going to go right in. You got to put the, don't forget the little woodruff key. Where's the little woodruff key? 1/4 by 1 inch. And these ones. So make sure you clean that hole out real good and stuff. You don't want to put contaminated grease down in there. There, my woodruff key fell out. Okay, there it went. Now we're going to put the nut on. So now on this kind, if it's got that, remember to put that in there. Okay, I lost some footage. So this is an older spindle. I'm just trying to show you what the footage I lost. This is one of them that I had to take the top bearing and drive down on top of it. So if that top bearing is moving real hard on the shaft, you can't do it just like a wheel bearing where you snug this up real tight and let it up and then tighten it back down, because it won't release. So if you got one that you had to tap that top bearing on fairly snug, you just want to keep, you want to get it down in something and make sure that that pulley's down. And then you just want to tighten it up until you get all the, you just want to get the no space under the nut. Now that pulley's tight again. So if you're like that and you have no resistance, you can call that good. Now if you over tighten on one of these that you had to drive the bearing down on, you can loosen it up, put in a vise or something under here, and I've been hitting with a steel hammer. You should hit it with something softer, but you can tap that back down and get your play back. Try not to do it too many times because you take a chance of indenting the bearing race with the bearing and stuff. But we're gonna call that good. You may have to snug a little bit, turn it and play with it and make sure you ain't got no play and all. Keep going until you have no play in this plate to this shaft. Okay? You may have a little bit of play in the pulley until you tighten the set screws, but you're just worried about this having play in it. And when you get it like that, just go ahead and tighten your Allens up. Once you tighten the Allen screws up on all of these, after I tighten the Allens up really good and snug, then I'll come back and I'll put a wrench on here and just give them a little snug against the Allens. That way, just make sure it holds everything tight.